Welcome back to Viewer Discretion with myself and David Dennis Jr. David, we're back to recap another week of Love Island USA, aka Big Brother Island.
Yes.
How you feeling after last night's maybe elimination? I want to start off. We're going to talk about the couples as we usually do. We're going to do power rankings. But first, I want to start off by talking about whatever the hell is going on at Casa Amor, because it is unlike anything we've seen on this show ever.
It felt like leading up to this, I'd felt like Love Island for the last year and a half that I've been watching has been like so almost like perfectly executed reality TV, like the activities, the votes and all that stuff. It felt like as close to a like scripted show that didn't quite jump the shark, but just had plot points that didn't make sense as I've seen on Love Island. The voting mechanism didn't make sense. Having them vote, having people who just got on the island decide if people leave or not, in theory, which we can assume that that's not the case. It just felt like a plot point that didn't quite work, like a bad episode. After 3 or 4 almost perfect episodes, like I think from Meg Thee Stallion on up until Tuesday or Monday, it felt like almost perfect reality TV. And then we got an episode that felt like it didn't jump the shark, but it was like, what's going on here?
I want to talk to you about like why they did it. Yeah. Maybe the producers who we have been praising as long as this podcast has existed. And of course, what happened. So just the very quick recap of Casa Amor is they flipped it. The girls went to Casa Amor. They decoupled everyone. And then instead of typically at Casa Amor, the onus of staying on the show is on the bombshells, the Casa guys and the Casa girls, or the Villa girls and the Casa guys, to try to convince people to leave their couples. They've completely switched it up this year. We're now the OGs, the Islanders, the Villa Islanders, both men and women, have to basically convince the Casa Amor people to couple with them to stay on the show. Ariana reveals this to everybody, but it's kind of unclear. Like there's a scene where they're talking about it, like the women, I believe, and they're like, we don't actually know how this is going to play out and what are we done if we don't couple with anyone? And I think this leads to different levels of effort. There's one single Islander on both sides, TJ and Amaya in this case, who don't get picked. So it culminates in a recoupling at the fire pit where everybody basically has the opportunity to switch it up. It's like a game of musical chairs, and the last person left standing on both sides without anybody who wants to be with them has to go. Those people are Nic and Olandria. I know it's a lot. I feel like I tried to recap it as best I could. Then at the last second, we should start here, there is a twist where Nic and Olandria, who have been thus far the most popular Islanders, Nic might be in the only relationship where the two people like each other in the entire show, to be honest. He's walking out, I think like a Hummer or a Jeep with a love license plate, pulls up. Olandria opens the car, says, "Get in. We're going shopping." No, so we don't know what's going to happen. The presumption is they're going to stay on the show. Before we kind of get back to what I described, which is this mechanism where they make the OGs battle for their lives, do you think the producers pivoted when Nic and Olandria were eliminated because they're the most popular Islanders? Because the other thing about Love Island that makes it so unique is it's happening in real time, responding to the public. The public clearly like them the most. Do you think that they always intended to do this, or do you think this was a move out of desperation to keep them on the show?
This is my question. This is the $1 million question about this show. I think this was probably always the plan, but because what makes sense, because if it wasn't Nic and Olandria, it was going to be Amaya and Austin, right? Probably. Right. And if those two get eliminated, I don't feel we're compelled to bring them back and have this moment. My theory and my assumption is that Nic and Olandria either switch now to the different islands, right? We go to Olandria comes and runs into Taylor, and Nic goes now, or I think they show up on movie night. I think they present movie night to everybody, which I think is probably the more logical thing, is that they come back and they're like, this is what we've been watching while we've been gone.
I think that your second theory or something close to it is what's going to happen. I feel that they're going to let the aftershocks play out. Cierra, who is, has like an actual viable love interest. We're going to see, does she leave, or does she try to leave the island? Like, she, again, legitimately seems to really care about Nic. Right. Taylor's not going to give it.
Right. No. Because they don't know. They don't know that the other person is gone.
Is gone.
And we'll see what that looks like. Because when they come back, they'll see that they're gone.
They may tell them. They could tell them.
Right, yeah. Tell. Oh, they may tell them. Yeah,
they could tell the men that Olandria has left in the. But I think, to go back to what you said, I think what you supposed is what's likely to happen, which is they're going to let them chill in a villa or they're a hotel somewhere. Nic Olandria shippers are going to go wild.
Right.
2 weeks of isolation, and then they're going to come back and deal with the aftermath. Yeah. Like when I think about television and what would make for the most interesting TV. Olandria thinking Taylor is waiting for her, and Nic coming back to potentially Cierra with a new connection. That makes for good TV.
Yeah, yeah. And Nic and Olandria coming back from that Hyatt place or wherever they're staying, saying, "Hey, we spent a little time together the last few days, coupled up. We're wearing America down." Nic Olandria, it's happening.
It's not happening. Okay, and then before we get to, again, the couples, I do want to talk about the mechanism. So what do you think was behind the switch up? Because I think perhaps the feeling was couples get too entrenched maybe heading into Casa Amor. But last year, it seemed like they had better couples and had all of the dudes left, which made for amazing television. This year, there's obviously not very strong couples other than like Nic and Cierra and maybe Ace and Chelley, the manipulators. So why do you think they did this? And do you think it's been working at all?
I think it's possible that they did it because the bombshells have been kind of duds so far. Like no bombshell has shown up really, except for Cierra. Really, like no bombshell has shown up and just like ripped apart a thing, And even though the couples are stronger, these couples have not really been compelled to find temptation elsewhere. And I think even when they saw even the dudes who saw this crop of 5 women, for the most part, they were kind of like, okay, like the vibe was not like I'm in real danger. Now you're kind of seeing that more with Taylor and stuff like that, but there was not a big. When the guys went to Casa Amor, it felt immediate, like we are with these women we're attracted to. This is different. Like that spark isn't there. So I think they're trying to manufacture it as much as they can and get people moving and trying to impact the action.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the priority this season has been on making the Islanders act more strategically, I suppose.
Yeah.
And they have a master game player in Ace. I think that was the other thing that was so frustrating. Nic at least tried.
Yeah.
Like, I felt sad for Olandria because I like her. Because I think she is by far one of the coolest. She has been reflected in my power rankings. Right. Top hangs. Mm-hmm. But I also, part of me did not feel sad for her because she didn't really try.
Yeah.
And she also, I feel, is a little bit delusional about her connection with Taylor.
Yeah.
And so, when she, like at the end when she was like, "Oh, we'll find each other." What was your face when Olandria said Taylor and I
she was like, I'll find my cowboy, and I'm like, he ain't gonna find you. I was kind of, the Olandria as a person was not wearing thin on me. Clearly, everybody loves Olandria. There were Olandria as a person in a relationship and making relationship things happen. Her and Taylor, I never felt it for them, and watching him, and I'm sure we'll get into this, but watching him interact with the other women, multiple, felt like, oh, this is what it looks like when he's actually into somebody. Yeah. And so I wanted her to try something else, because even I wanted to try like one of the tall dudes, like somebody who's anybody.
Never try.
Yeah. Because it's easy to say this one guy, Zach with the K, is not doing anything for you, but he didn't seem like her type anyway. Like these other dudes kind of did, and I wanted her to like at least give it a shot.
All right, let's talk about Nic and Cierra first, because that sort of led to, what could be a dramatic reveal if Cierra finds out Nic's gone or whatnot. Actually, this episode, I think we're recapping this week, started off with the Meg episode, which was an absolute delight. Meg, I think that was about as perfect of a celebrity cameo as you could get on a show like, because Love Island, So they usually, did they have one last year on USA? I can't remember, but the UK series often has like really big stars come.
Okay.
I remember once, I think it was season 5 when they had Neo and they all like but usually they just drop in, they perform.
Really big stars is very generous for Neo. Just
okay. There's been bigger ones on Love Island, but my point is like this: the UK show does get pretty popular acts. They usually come and perform. They very rarely interact with Islanders to the degree that Meg did. She obviously had a financial incentive for being there, promoting her swimmer line.
Right.
But it was great. It was like an amazing episode. It was like everybody was completely delightful around her. None of the Islanders were weird with her. They had the twerking challenge, which was really fun. I loved that episode. I bring it up first here because you could tell Meg was kind of a Cierra fan. Olandria and Cierra. She has the same faves as us.
Right. Yeah. So Meg, by the way, Meg, come hop on the show. We love to talk Love Island with you. Anytime. Come hang out with us. I watched that episode. I thought it was a perfect episode of television. And I kept thinking this is like Ozymandias from Breaking Bad. Like this is just like I was like, this is just perfect. This is perfect TV. This is a perfect episode of television that we're watching. Meg was great. And it was one thing that I can't stop thinking about is watching Olandria realize she's famous in real time. Like that is just like a real social experiment thing. Like this is what reality TV shows are about, is watching these different circumstances happen to people on camera and Olandria realizing, oh shit, I am a famous person at that moment when she's blocked off from social media, when she doesn't know what people are saying about her except for those votes. And she's realizing that Meg Thee Stallion has pictures of me on her phone. I'm famous. And what that does to a human being in real time is one of the fascinating things I've seen. And that's why Love Island is so great. It's why reality TV is so great. It was just something that I just cannot stop thinking about.
It's a great point. I think last year, one of the interesting plot lines was PPG, the 3 girls at the part of the show, Janae, Serena, and Leah, didn't know how famous they were until they got out. In fact, I think Leah the whole time thought maybe she wasn't that well liked. It was kind of, and you're right. This was like a rare incursion from the outside world, and to have it delivered by Meg Thee Stallion is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'll talk about Olandria more when we get to her part. I want to talk about her in the challenge.
Right.
Is just completely redefined my perception of what a human body can do.
Water.
I'm dying at like the next 100 best TV episodes of the 2020s having Love Island, the Meg episode next to like prestige shows.
Yes.
Okay, but so we'll get to that a little bit more. So TJ and Andreina are the 2 bombshells that join at the beginning of the series. So TJ, he pulls Cierra. Talk about TJ more. He says he played college baseball. She says she played softball. He says she looked a lot better in person, which is one of many instances of TJ negging that I clocked. Andreina pulls Nic. There's, it's kind of briefly presented as like he might be interested in her. I guess the thing I want to say about, there's also a scene where Cierra is flirting with TJ or talking to TJ, and she asks him Jordan or LeBron, and he says Jordan, and she gets him like he's talking about how he feels pressure to show success for his family. Okay, so when I'm watching both of their conversations with the bombshells, I'm not thinking they're going to leave each other at any point. All that's going through my head, David, is these 2 people are by far the most charismatic people in the villa, in Cierra and Nic.
Yeah, absolutely. It was when Andreina's talking to Nic and they're having a conversation. I was like both of them. I was like, they could talk to anybody, and they're captivating personalities, and they're people that you would be attracted to just from a conversation. And we said it earlier when we talked when Cierra showed up. It was like, I like her because as soon as she starts talking to people, she becomes likable. And especially Nic contrasted to our poor guy Jeremiah, because Andreina's talking to Nic and they're like bantering and doing this stuff, and she talks to Jeremiah and he's like, tape. And it's just like, these are 2 different types of dudes who get women in very different ways.
Andreina and Brian. Sorry, we'll get to that briefly. That's the guy in Casa. I was just like, I can't watch.
We can't just. Andreina's like all-time bombshell appearance moment for her when she walked up. It was, I think everybody in America who watched that said, "Oh," as soon as she popped up. Just an all-timer.
I saw multiple people across multiple platforms saying in the exact words, "That's not a bombshell, that's a nuke." With,
right.
Kind of touchy timing people to be talking about nukes and bombs. But I mean, she's unreal looking. I mean, you and I talked about this. We kind of both felt they should have saved her for Casa.
Yeah.
Because it felt like weird timing to come right before a bombshell, right before Casa. It's like,
Yeah, if you want to create a situation where somebody puts real doubt
yes,
in people's minds, you have her pop up in Casa.
The other thing I want to talk to you about with Nic and Cierra is that they have sex. He pulls Ace, and the way we find out is him saying it was the best 25 seconds of my life. Sorry, I love Nic.
He's more likable Nic.
But he's super funny about it. They both, an interesting thing, by the way, in the past on both seasons of Love Island, Islanders have been very coy and very awkward about revealing that they've had sex with each other to other Islanders. There's these like elaborate similes where I opened the restaurant and he had an appetizer and then whatever. They're not this year. Have you noticed that? It's not.
But because I don't remember anybody talking about or having sex in last season. I don't. Well, of course the two. What was the toxic couple? Clearly we're having sex a lot. The guy who went off to Casa and cheated and lied about her. The British dude.
Aaron, the worst.
The worst. They clearly were having a lot
of showers.
Clearly having a lot of sex. But other than that, I think we're and there's more sort of discussion about the consequences, not even consequences, but like the emotional fallout of sex in these than we've seen before too.
So this is the part that I found interesting, right? Yeah. Because they do it. They're both, not regretful of it. He says, I think they talk a little bit, and he says he apologizes for being 30 seconds, so he's bumped it up a little bit. He says it's earlier than usual, but he doesn't regret it. And then there's a challenge. It's this like weird, okay, can we do a PSA to the Love Island producers? No one in America wants to watch these people spit in each other's mouths anymore. What is going on with what is it going to take to stop this?
This is the same way I feel about the eating challenges on there, like the bull testicles and they throw up at the end. There's no point to us watching that. I don't want to see it. I didn't want to see this. I skipped through like every time they spit in the mouth, I turned away and like skipped it. There's no point in this.
Yeah, the only spitting that's been somewhat interesting was Hannah. I don't know if you clocked that. No more spitting in each other's mouths. Okay, so but during that challenge, there's a moment where like they're kind of like making out with other people. Yeah. Nic's making out with Andreina. She's making out with I think TJ, and then they switch, and it's a very like swingery vibe. But then afterwards, they have this conversation where she says she's actually watching him be like super sex forward in the challenges. Now she feels different because they've slept together. And Cierra, being the master communicator she is, it doesn't come across as clingy or she comes across as like very honest about her feelings. She kind of like turns away from him and goes to bed at one point because she's upset by how she's not asking him to close things off, but she feels like he isn't giving her the level of commitment she wants. Right. After they have sex, there's a scene where he talks to Ace about it, and Ace, in a rare moment of clarity, not clarity, but not making me mad at him, tells him, hey man, sex changes everything. Yeah. He's not wrong about that.
Continuous streak of good advice to other people. Like to other people, he's got some good things to say, but does not have anything remotely good for his own situation.
I wanted to know just kind of how you felt about that. The fact that they went on this little journey after their 25 seconds together, and whether or not you think it's going to affect their relationship moving forward.
Yeah, I got the feeling that we finally have a couple that actually likes each other.
Yeah,
we're going through a real relationship stuff. And Cierra's communicating well, and Nic is, I think, he's trying to. I think Nic is probably a better communicator outside of a reality TV show where he gets to make out with hot women whenever he wants to. And I think he kind of said, alluded to as much of like, this is different, and I think that him and Cierra are playing this out. And like you said, she is just a great communicator, and he seems to be a great communicator, but not, like where she was like very chill, very cool. And you see her gradually break down into this person, not to break down, but just kind of become this person who likes him and is emotional and is sort of more invested in this relationship. And I do think this is we're finally seeing an actual relationship play out on the show.
Totally agree. When they get to Casa, she actually ends up with a guy she's kind of interested in. He's a guy that a lot of the women like. His name is unfortunately Elon. Yeah. But tough year for Elon.
Oh, didn't see that. Didn't see him being the guy. When everybody kept picking him for the kiss, I was like, okay, sure.
They were all going for. I think he might be really cute in real life. I don't know. Sometimes you can look at guys and just tell that. I just wrote, who is this Benson Boone looking, and then got the curly hair.
Yeah.
They talk and like it's actually like a pretty good conversation. Yeah. You know, they talk about what they're looking for in relationships. She tells the other women, she's like, wow, like I was surprised. Like we actually had a lot in common. But then she cries thinking about Nic with another girl. And I think she's crying because like her relationship's being tested. She's crying at she's kind of like, like you said, processing like what does it mean to actually be in a relationship with someone you like and have that be tested and also be worried about what's going on the other side. Mm-hmm. Turns out she shouldn't be worried because Nic gets eliminated. I do want to ask you about this because we see shots of both Austin and Nic are into the same girl, Jaden, the corporate investigator, who when she talks sounds a lot like Leah, by the way. It's like that kind of Valley girl, slow California talk. I thought she was going to pick Nic flat out. Maybe that's just my own biases towards Nic over Austin. Were you surprised that she went with probably what was the more strategically astute decision in picking Austin? And do you think that's why she picked him?
I do think that's why she picked him because I saw her. She was sort of eyeing the crowd as she was doing it. And it seemed like she was assessing everybody's reaction to what was going on. And Nic sort of says he's into her. I feel like Nic feels obligated to play the game. I think that's really what is keeping him, because when every time he's talking about Cierra not being closed off and all this stuff, I'm kind of like, why? Like, what is the justification? I think he feels like he should be doing more in the game. Maybe the Jeremiah Huda stuff has impacted him to feel as though, you know, the way people criticize them for being closed off makes him feel like this is what he should be doing. But I'm just kind of like, just do it. Like, you clearly like her. You're kind of forcing yourself to be into these other people. You're going feet first into these challenges and making out and doing all that stuff because that's part of the game. The person you actually like is right there. Just do it. Just go for it.
I think you hit on what is one of the most infuriating parts of this season and what animated the decision to get rid of Jeremiah and Hannah, which we're going to talk about, I promise, which is the Islanders cannot agree on the purpose of Love Island.
Yes, yeah.
They got rid of both of them. You know, we can talk about the Hannah elimination here for not being open. The Islanders said, you know, Amaya and Iris, they're still trying things. And Hannah's like, well, who gets eliminated is like, what the hell? Like, I'm with the guy. We like each other, me and Pepe.
It's the second guy, too. It's the second guy that I was with.
Yeah. Their justification, the women tell the guys later, is like, well, you know, she was closed off. And it's like, wait, what is going on here?
Yeah.
Like, what are we punishing people for committing to people?
Yeah.
The people, in fact, often who are doing the punishing are in committed relationships, like Ace and Chelley. So.
And it also, like, yes, because I'd been told that I've been under the understanding that if you were not with anybody, that's when you go. Nobody wants to be with you. There's no, like, who was Amaya going to be with? Nope, there was nobody for Amaya to be with. And Amaya's a wonderful, delightful, you know, person who sounds like a rugrat, but she is, you know, like relatively harmless. You know, like relatively harmless as a person. But it's just not working out. Nobody. She's had multiple attempts at people. She hasn't found her person on the island. It's not working out. She should have clearly been gone.
It feels to me like they're just grafting explanations onto social dynamics. Like they're just choosing their friends. They're relying on like other loyalties.
And maybe Ace and Chelley are getting rid of other couples, as if we're following our conspiratorial thing about them.
Let's talk about the elimination then, and we can talk about Hannah, and then let's get to Jeremiah being eliminated and Jeremiah and Huda. So Hannah is eliminated. Jeremiah wasn't terribly surprised by, because I knew Ace we knew Ace hated him. You and I have talked about that. By the way, I mean, we've been right about Ace since the beginning. I just want to put
absolutely from the beginning. Knew Ace had a problem with Jeremiah from the very first episode of Viewer Discretion. We said he had a problem with him, and as soon as he was making out with Andreina, he starts talking trash about the dude, making out with her. He's love bombing her. What?
He's doing it again.
He's doing it again.
What the hell? Okay, we'll get to that in a second with Jeremiah. Let's talk. Hannah was the more surprising one to me.
Yeah.
So, the justification afterwards that there are things she didn't explore. And Pepe stays, and there's really not much to talk about Pepe. He seems like a chill, nice dude.
I don't think he's spoken since she left.
The only conversation we show is when he connects with the Hannah variant in Casa.
Right.
But really quickly about Hannah, and then we'll get to the Jeremiah pit. Why? Okay, so the way it worked with the elimination a few episodes back is, I think it was Sunday, America votes, so the bottom 3, and then the Islanders get to pick, but this time it's opposite sex.
Right.
That's the other thing about the season. It's all over the place in terms of who gets eliminated. This part I don't really object to, I want to say, because I kind of think that what tends to happen in Love Island is it becomes too much about the cliques. Yeah. Clearly they're trying to break up the cliques and whatever. Why do you think they didn't show it to us? So typically...
The conversation.
Yes, the conversation. Yeah. I want to get your thoughts on it, because usually when there's a group elimination, this was, by the way, last season, this was the infamous Andrea backseat conversation with Leah. They do, and then they showed more of it because it was so controversial. We see some of it. We see who's really leading the charge, who's like kind of pulling the strings, what is their logic. We didn't see any of it with Jeremiah, and we know why Jeremiah is. We'll get to that. But with Hannah, we didn't see them talk. What do you think was behind that?
I don't know. I'm not totally sure, but I think it probably paints popular people as more unpopular than they want them to be. I think if you see Ace leading this charge about Jeremiah, then maybe it skews how we feel about him. And if we see Chelley leading this charge about Hannah,
that's what I want to talk to you about.
Then maybe we have a situation where it's like, where the audience is like, wait a minute, are these two actually getting rid of strong people, or do we not like Chelley anymore? I think there was clearly a reason why they skipped this. And I think part of it is it paints negative people. And I'm thinking that person is Chelley. I think it paints her in a more negative light than it would have if she were not in the conversation.
I think that's plausible. The other explanation would be that they want to save it for movie night.
Yeah.
They want to show us like, hey, here's what Ace said to get rid of Jeremiah. Here's what Chelley or maybe Huda said to get rid of Hannah. Maybe, I don't know.
Well, or maybe it was Huda because there was she was
Pepe.
Like Pepe, and there was that thing. But movie night, if I'm not mistaken, movie night is usually stuff that we've seen, right? And they haven't seen.
Yeah, true.
It's all,
maybe they're mixing it up. There's no rules.
Maybe they're doing. But I think there was somebody, because I couldn't, as I'm racking my brain, I'm just thinking Ace and Chelley are of like mind, and they're just picking away competitive couples, and trying to get their way to victory, because I am fully on the conspiracy about Ace and Chelley at this point.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Actually, let's talk about that now, and then we'll get to Huda and Jeremiah. There's just something off about this couple, Ace and Chelley. There's something off. You know
what? When they reminded me of it, I can't stop thinking about the fact that she's 27 and he's 22. I cannot stop thinking about the fact that there is a 5-year age gap between her and him. And at 22 and 27, and she is head over heels over this dude, and the age difference has not come up a single time between them. Like, that to me is not smoking gun per se, but this feels more like a strategic partnership between the two of them than any sort of it. Because when they got together, since they've gotten together, it's kind of reminded me of like Jim and Pam when they got married. It was like The Office wasn't interesting anymore. Like, they became much less interesting when they got together.
Yeah.
Chelley and Ace are not as interesting anymore. They feel like they've played the game to the point where they could just coast to the end. They're saying all these things. I miss my Ace. Where's my Chelley? All this stuff. And they're trying to be this cute couple. She's 27. He's 22. It's weird, man. It's weird.
I do not. I want to go back and watch the scene where they first see each other in episode 1, because in retrospect, it just feels like acting. And I'm not saying, I know there's some wild conspiracy theories on the internet, like there's like people convinced they're married, which I don't. But there's zero doubt in my mind they communicated before the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Zero. Hey, I'm on the show. Me too. Let's go win this thing. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's all of that. There's something is not right with these two people.
His little dates, every time he does something romantic, I am not buying it. Unfortunately, I do worry that America is buying it because America voted to save him over Jeremiah.
America ain't buying it. America just does not care. That's what the thing. America, we saw the comments. There was that sort of viral like text or something from probably a fake thing that had this whole background about how they met and they've been together and they were doing this and they won the show. And all of the comments were like, and don't care. I support a scammer. Support black business. Like, this is what people have been saying as they've been doing this. And I just don't think people are going to care. It's a reality show. People are just kind of like, it's a reality show. There's no sanctity to it. Let's get these like two adorable people, in theory, let's get these two adorable people their money and get them out of here. And I don't think it's going to work. We could have a smoking gun because also all of these Casa people are coming in having seen all of this stuff too. And nobody's mentioned, nobody's brought it up, or maybe they have and it's not on the, they're not using it. But I just don't think people are going to care.
Yeah, I also think the show is not going to give these ideas a platform inside the show. Yeah, like, it's not good, like, you know, when they do the tweets, they're not going to be like, Ace and Chelley planned this.
Right, yeah.
But they should, because this whole season has been about like insane producer intervention and all of these like contrived decisions and to try to create tension. You want to create tension in this villa? Plant that damn seed.
Put the tweets out where everybody's saying, when you read the tweets, say the tweets that everybody's saying, and then let people point it to, because if you add the tweets plus whatever they said in the huddle, and they're both trying to get people out of here, you want that island to turn on them, and you want some drama, you plant all that stuff together. And Chelley pretended that she's into this dude. Like, if this were real. If this were real, Chelley would have actually been interested in anybody else who came through, and Ace would have also been interested. They're playing this game. Let the chaos reign, and so we can see it all.
Yes. So this is our plea to Love Island producers: at least plant the theory that they knew each other and planned this. Hey, maybe they managed to convince everyone it's not true. My money would be on that because Ace is running this island, in my opinion. But I want to see it play out. Right. Plant those seeds of doubt. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. So let's do Jeremiah and Huda here because we talked about Jeremiah's elimination. Jeremiah, who, we'll get to something. So where we left off was they had finally ended things. The island was clearly unbelievably sick of their toxic relationship. Andreina comes in. Jeremiah and her connect right away, which also had to drive Ace crazy.
Yes.
Jeremiah, who said on the Nic Vial podcast, he was hooping.
Yes, he was out there. He was out there hooping. He speaks like just social media, TikTok aggregate. Like, he speaks in hashtags.
Yeah, he's at the end. I liked him though. I at the end I really felt bad for Jeremiah.
I did. To have Andreina and make out with her twice and have her ripped away from you is a pain I would not wish on my worst enemy. Between that and Tyrese Halliburton, I felt so much agony for people I didn't know over the last.
The relationship's finally over. There's one more fight. I did like Taylor trying to be like her sober coach, to like every time she kept relapsing to fight, you'd see him like peeking around the corner like, Huda, what you doing? I thought that was fun.
Did you think when they did that last hug, did you think she expected them to kiss?
100% she expected to kiss. The whole time Huda thought she was getting him back. You called that one.
Can I say one thing about Jeremiah? Can I do a PSA real quick about Jeremiah and Ace and brothers in general on reality TV shows and just in general in life? Foreign is not a type.
Oh, God,
I'm sorry. No. Your type is not foreign. That's not a type of people. That is 99.5% of the human population is foreign. That's like saying my favorite shoe is Foot Locker. Please stop saying that foreign is your type and just cop to the fact that you have some colorism in your soul, in your spirit that makes you prefer women who are exotic looking and just light skinned and not like black women. Because Chelley is Haitian.
Yeah.
Chelley is foreign and exotic, but you ain't say nothing about her. Please stop saying your type is foreign. I hate it. Gives me the ick, and you look bad on TV when you say things like that. Your type is not foreign.
I think Ace at one point says he always imagined he'd marry a woman from not America or something, which is some real manosphere stuff.
Yes.
It's a good note. They do have one last fight, and Huda's deeply annoying in it.
Yeah.
But it kind of felt like the Meg episode cleansed the show of the Huda Jeremiah dynamic, because it was just everybody. It was the first time you saw Huda have fun in weeks. And I mean, I would have fun too if I was capable of the things she was doing with her.
Yes, in front of Meg Thee Stallion, gassing you up while you're doing that thing. And also, I think we were talking about Olandria realizing that she was famous. I think Huda was kind of realizing this is what, because she remember when the vote happened, she wasn't quite sure what people were saying. But when Meg comes in and she's like, yo, chill out with this stuff. Huda's like, okay, this is what the vibes are, and she can move on. Just don't pretend. She's talking like a divorce. Can I just say that Huda's talking like a divorced person? Like, you were with the guy for like 2 weeks. She's like, can't wait to get back out there. I still got it. Want to know? I still got the moves after 10 days of dating this dude. Kinda like it's okay. You still got him. You still got it, Huda.
Huda, Meg tells her, your face card's crazy, but we need more smiles. Which is the most gentle way of saying, stop being a sourpuss. Huda at one point says she has to come out of retirement. It's like, bro, it's been less than 2 weeks. Yes. Relax. Huda makes several Hail Mary attempts at trying to connect with the other guys who are clearly not like TJ. TJ's never talked to a woman like Huda in his life.
Ever. He had no clue what to do with her. But you do kind of see her like flirty charm a little bit. Like you kind of see the appeal.
The TJ conversation was tough to watch.
That was a tough one. That was a tough one.
She tries with Pepe. She pulls him in front of Hannah, which was a weird look.
That was weird. Yeah,
he was not into it. So she's trying. At this point, I think the question is just like, is Huda going to actually make it to Casa? Because we know that there's a recoupling happening. Huda, by the way, before the recoupling, I'll get to Jeremiah in a second. She still talks about Jeremiah. Everybody's still sick of it.
Yeah.
When they finally learn there's a vote, Huda says she expects it's her time to go.
Mm-hmm.
And then she doesn't go. So I want to get to the Jeremiah side of this. Were you surprised? It's Amaya, Iris, and Hannah that America saved Huda.
Yeah, I was surprised. But I think part of it, though, is the backlash to the backlash. Like she's been getting a lot of negativity and a lot of toxic stuff in her thing. I think people are kind of backing her up. And I think also people just kind of want her like craziness on the show. Like, she's good TV. I think people want to stick her on there. Or, or the producers rig the vote a little bit. One of those three is possible.
I wasn't surprised that Hannah and Amaya were in the bottom. I actually was a little surprised by Iris, maybe. But, they were all... Every single one of them was not an OG. Certainly that factors into it as well. So meanwhile, while this is happening, Jeremiah is, you alluded to this, connecting with Andreina. They make out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Andreina's boring. I'm sorry. I know she's like the hottest woman I've ever seen in my life, but she's not fun to watch on TV. She's not that interesting. But she seems like a good fit with Jeremiah.
She does, but also it was kind of funny because she kind of became Jeremiah. Because everybody was talking about Jeremiah falls in love, and she's like, this guy's the man of my dreams. He's the perfect man. And he's just like, type. And she's just like, he's just everything I've ever wanted. And I'm just like, sure, whatever. And they're making out. And they were probably heading into a quickly closed off thing. But I don't think that's a function of Jeremiah just being that kind of dude. She was in it. Yeah, she was into him, and she's smoking hot. And he was like, there was no way. There's none of those dudes given 2 days with her would have had any hesitation with closing that thing off.
Yeah, Ace is watching them talk and says he's repeating his cycle. Unreal.
He's like the dude. I don't know how many times you've seen Belly, Mina, but he's like this dude. He's like this dude. The dude in Belly was walking out the barbershop, was eating the bananas. Like, I don't like them at all. Like, that's who he reminds me of. Every watching at home, pull up the clip.
He is simultaneously Jeremiah's number one hater, and the hottest girl going for Jeremiah. There's clearly there's envy there. Jeremiah's a really good looking guy. Let's start here. He's like a really good looking guy. He's a model, but he also, I feel like, he wants him out.
Yeah,
he gets him out. There's a cute scene where Jeremiah and Iris talk, and they both agree that they're not each other's types. And
that was really cool.
That was cool. I like that moment.
Iris also, Iris also somebody who's just gotten by being like a really cool person. Like she's
good personality,
gets along with everybody, very chill, very cool conversation with Jeremiah where they both realize that they've made out with the bombshells. And they're just like, no problem.
Let's be friends. He calls her a freaky frog.
Right.
It's cute. But Jeremiah ultimately gets eliminated. We've already talked about that, and I don't think that one needs to be broken down. There's no mystery in the murder of who killed Jeremiah.
Right. And he went on that podcast, Vile podcast, and talked about the guys and said he knew that Ace was the ringleader. And he made some interesting points. He said that when they got rid of Jalen, afterwards, they said they would tell him why. They explained to him why. Nobody said a word to him about why. They just said, love you, it's not personal, and kind of sent him on his way. So it was he understands it's very snaky. And what's interesting that Taylor, he said, didn't say a word to him. Just kind of like was not, didn't really have
as much as we love Nic, he is part of the problem.
Yes,
he is 100% in the Ace triumvirate. It's Ace, Taylor, Nic. Mm-hmm. That's the triumvirate there. Austin's not really part of the group. And the way they move, you could argue that Nic and Taylor are more reprehensible because they're being followers.
They're being followers, and Nic is like supposed to be Jeremiah's best bud. Yeah, and they've been multiple scenes where they've confided in each other. That Nic stock fell a little bit with the guy dynamic.
Real quick note on Huda. So Huda, I don't think anyone has looked more excited than Huda looked running into Casa Amor in her bikini, by the way. She even did one of those little like Lucky Charms.
Click her heels. She looked like those kids in those slip and slide commercials from back in the day. Like she just could.
Rare moment of restraint from the producers not showing us the backside of her jumping and doing the
I've seen so much of her butt. I've seen so much of her butt. I could probably freehand draw her butt from memory because of how much I've seen it.
The way it moved in the twerking challenge, I texted you and I said, I've never seen a butt move like that. I'm so confused about the physics. You said, next time you come to Atlanta, we're going to Magic City. But like, even by those standards,
it was A+. She
crazy.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? I lost in what did TJ called it, a federal treasury at one point. It's very funny. So she couples up with a guy though in Casa, JD, who's a younger dude. Also, she's a terrible kisser, by the way. Oh, the tongue.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
But we see a conversation with JD, who is I actually looked him up because he was one of those ambiguous jobs. He's a personal trainer, which he looks like a personal trainer.
His Instagram is just him doing the same pose in different outfits. That's all it is.
So he asks her. So he has seen Huda. This is the thing I did find interesting. So he has seen her crashing out to some degree. We don't know when he lost access to TV.
And we last week we said we did not think that somebody who'd seen that would, and we were wrong because he seems to be into it.
He's into it, and he has dated a mom before. Which was a very noteworthy point. He says that he feels she's taken accountability for her past mistakes on the show. There was also, I want to give one note for JD. I thought it was really kind that he both brought a coffee to Amaya, who was the odd woman out, and the next day he talked to her and let her cry to him, and he was So I want to give our boy JD a little point for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where we left things off with Huda. There's really nothing to talk about with Andreina and Brian. Brian is the guy in Casa who she links up with. I have zero opinions on them. Do you care about them at all?
No, we're in a tattoo crisis in America right now. We're in just like a horrible era of tattoos. There's like Jokers. There's the Joker's minions.
Taylor with Ape Shall Not Kill Ape. You didn't like that gigantic Planet of the Apes reference?
It is. It is just so much bad tattoos on this.
Yeah, it's tough
on this show. Maybe I'm just being old. Maybe I'm just being like an old guy.
I actually thought the only thing in the point of Zach's favor is that Asian Zach, who ends up being the deciding vote, is his tattoos were not that bad.
Not that bad. Yes.
Tatted up, and I was looking at them. I was like, okay, this looks like a normal, like, kind of situation.
Normal tattoos. I thought the accent would carry him further than it did, but did not. It was.
The accent was negated by the haircut. I feel like to some degree. Which, okay, well, let's talk about them actually. So let's do Austin, Amaya, and Zach is kind of this section, how I grouped them together. So back to before Casa Amor, we see Austin and Amaya, they couple up and he immediately loses interest with her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm torn on this because I think Amaya is a good person and I don't think Austin is, to be honest.
Yeah.
But she does seem annoying as hell. I'm just going to say it. I feel bad saying it. She seems annoying.
She does. She seems like a rough hang, not a bad person. Rough hang.
Yeah.
And Austin, and she immediately, because she upped it. She said "babe" to Ace, and then she's "baby" to Austin for the breakfast.
Too much.
She's upped it. They do the challenge, and she's like, "I'm not threatened by the challenge because I know what we have as a couple." And it's been 6 hours, and Austin's a little freaked out. And I think he honestly, when he's talking to, I think Jeremiah about it, he's having a real moment of introspection about why he feels the way he feels about Amaya. It's like, am I fair? Am I being, because I wanted Chelley to give me attention, and now Amaya's giving it. Like, he seems to really not. He's not just being like, she's too clingy, I can't do it. He's really grappling with it, in spite of the fact that he probably should have told her that to her face when she gave him the chance.
Should have told her. Yeah, she literally was like, "Do I make you uncomfortable?" He was like,
Yeah.
We should also note Amaya, who is just a human meme machine.
Mm-hmm.
Some highlights: she stretches to meet Megan. She says she can't get married because she doesn't know how to iron. She says of Austin, she could fart in front of him and he would fart back. And then at one point, she's watching him be a pool boy and says a word I didn't think they would say on television about her anatomy.
Yes.
And then she's just overcome with gratitude.
Yes.
At one point, which is a real, just incredible moment. So Austin is relieved when he gets to
could not wait.
Amaya is the odd woman out. One of the boys, I think it was Brian, says she has crazy eyes, which sucks, but also like a little bit. So because the thing that is notable is because of the new dynamic where the OGs have to graft, to use a Love Island UK term, Amaya is in full Casa Girl mode.
Yeah.
It's the classic, is this woman into me or is she just a stripper and I'm paying her kind of vibe that we usually get from Casa. She goes hard in the paint for Zach.
Yeah. Especially once, I'm not sure if she clearly got the vibe that the thing that was missing from him and Olandria was the fact that Olandria was not, and maybe she just knows that she's just not going to be physical. So she's just like, this is my end. I'm going to pounce on this dude and we're going to make out. And I got it.
All of these scenes were not comfortable.
Yeah, they were not. It was awkward and it was clear. It was a clear last gasp effort to stay on the island, which is why her crocodile tears at Olandria being picked. Like, she knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, none of this made me change my feelings about her. She was playing the game very aggressively. Olandria wasn't. There's zero reason why Zach, by the way, should have picked Olandria. No one.
Yeah.
At one point at the end, I do want to mention this. He tries to talk to Olandria and she says, "Save your words." I think it's kind of similar to the Olandria Huda moment where it's like, right. Olandria is just being straightforward and not
because that's how she was talking to everybody. She was like, "Yo, don't just leave it alone. Don't do this." Blah blah blah. And I think it can come off one way, but it was.
Girls lost it, by the way, when she got eliminated.
Chelley ran up to her before they got to finish the announcement. I was thinking they were going to do the color purple thing. They were parting ways.
Really quick, we're gonna end with Taylor and Olandria. I wrote Iris and TJ because they were kind of a couple at the end.
Yeah.
Really not much to talk about with each of them.
TJ kind of sucks.
I don't like TJ. I don't like this man.
Yeah.
I think Reddit clocked that he follows Andrew Tate on.
Yeah, follows Andrew Tate.
Completely checks out with the way he's been moving.
And his multiple homes. He's got a home here and always like really degrading to these women, and which is why none of those women wanted anything to do with him after the kissing.
And then he like dogged all of them because they did the ratings, and he's always like there's like little subtle nags. So he has to fight to survive, similar to Maya. He recognizes that Vanna and Ace isn't going to be a thing. He pulls her. We see a conversation between the two of them. Vanna is the 21-year-old.
Yeah.
The internet's being rough enough. We don't need to get into
that. Which Ace, I miss my Chelley. Of course you miss it. Like,
yeah, come on.
Right?
Yeah. Vanna likes golf and throwback music. When she said she likes throwback music, what year did you think that they were going to allude to the music being?
Nelly. I was like, she listens to Nelly. That's throwback music for her.
2000s. He says that people told him you look like Justin Timberlake. He does not look like Justin Timberlake.
Doesn't look like Justin Timberlake. Does not. He's trying so hard to be. The idea that he became a bombshell was the highlight of his attractiveness in life, because it fell. That stock of bombshellness dropped immediately when he got on the island.
He does convince her to pick him and saves his life at that point. On the flip side, Iris pairs up with this dude Zach, who looks exactly like Jay Cutler. That's what I wrote down. Okay. I have very little to say about them. We go one conversation where he talks about he doesn't like cooking. I didn't really get a lot. Yeah. Iris is usually a really good conversationalist, and I was kind of bored by their conversation. Yep. So I don't know what's going to happen there. All I know is that there is zero chance in hell TJ is actually interested in Vanna. That was extremely big. All right, finally, Taylor and Olandria. So we've been talking about them the whole time, but Taylor we see a few conversations with them before the split where he talks about how he does go to the club, but he isn't throwing to the club. She asks the day in his life. She says she could see herself being a country wife. She takes him on a little date with cookies. Do we think Taylor or Olandria likes the idea of Taylor more than she likes Taylor himself? Or do you think, because we agree that Taylor is not that into it. Yeah. What about Olandria? Like, do we think she just has idealized him or what?
I think so, because that apricot conversation was a painful thing to watch. It seemed so boring. And she was like, because they do the apricot conversation and she comes back. She's like, he's so, or like some sort of superlative about him after that. And I'm like, how did you get that from picking apricots and blueberries? And it just seems so incredibly boring. I think the producers let us linger on that conversation to drive home the fact that it is extremely boring. However, Bella Dasha and Hannah, both in their sort of post interviews, have said that the two of them have a lot of fun on the island, and Olandria and Taylor do get along really well. We're just not seeing it on the show. So, take that.
I also think Taylor is just much more charismatic and good looking in person. Both of the women, he gets two women choosing him, the hottest woman of the Casa, in my opinion, Coco, and Clark. He ends up connecting with Clark. They talk for a long time about how she tried to groom her dog and messed it up at some point.
It's just immediately the expressions on his face when he's with both of these women, Coco and Clark. He's smiling, he's joking, he's having a good old time. Now, Olandria is more sort of even keeled and like mild mannered, so doesn't seem like a big joker type. But he is just seems super into them from the moment he sees them, and Olandria seems to be in third place instantly.
I am convinced that Ace somehow manipulated Taylor into picking Clark, or to like being more Clark. Or at one point he's like, "You're just happier with Clark," like that he could save himself with Coco. I don't know. We weren't showing it.
I feel like Coco just picked Ace because she kind of felt like Clark was. I don't think she likes Ace at all. I don't think she wants anything to do with. I don't think so. She kind of. Maybe because I just don't like Ace.
Yeah, I feel like this is just your dislike. I couldn't get read on Coco at all.
Yeah, except for Coco refused to kiss any white men on the on the
Coco chose both Ace and
Taylor. Went on the challenge. Did pecks on the cheek. Maybe she knows Austin's social media, whatever. But shout out to Hotep Coco because she did not kiss.
Coco is stunning.
Yeah. And she looks better as the show goes on. She continues to just
I was living I was like, oh, hopefully when they reunite, because Ariana talked about how like the OGs are going to bring the new people together at some point. I was like, I in America was just craving the moment when Chelley walks in with 6'8" Chris and Ace has to deal with it. But if Ace walks in with Coco, it's like, oh, damn it. No. But again, if our scamming belief is real, none of this actually matters anyways. They're not making each other jealous in any way.
Well, my hope is that Ace, as the master manipulator of all of this, probably maybe even Chelley, or, maybe not manipulated Chelley, but just, probably masterminded that plan. I'm still wouldn't leave it beyond Ace to be like, maybe I should ditch Chelley still and just leave her, and still go out for himself. But then Chelley might blow the whole thing up. But I just didn't find, but this is just maybe who I am. I just don't find Ace's chemistry with anybody to be legitimate on the show.
All right. Let's wrap, as always, with power rankings. So for these power rankings, I am going to leave Nic and Olandria out of it because they're right now in like a liminal zone. We don't know what's going to happen with them. We don't know when they're going to return. All we know is that they're going to return.
Holding hands.
Okay, so I know this is going to sound a little bit weird because right now her significant other's future is in doubt, but this is made with the belief that he is coming back. I still have Cierra at number 1.
Yeah, I like Cierra.
The most likable Islander, I think, by far, to be honest.
And also the way her communication was really put her up there at the top. The way she talked to Nic, the way
she talks like a human being. She doesn't talk in like aphorisms. I think she has like a real connection. She also has like a legitimate prospect in Casa, could create some interest. I'll put my girl Iris number 2, maybe a little bit high, but I find her also very likable. Unfortunately, she's her primary love interest
has not done anything in the last 3 days. So
yeah. All right. If you hear drilling in the back, that's construction at my house. I'm gonna put. I don't like putting her here, but I think Chelley right now is. Yeah, I know. I hate this, but I feel like she's just racking up the followers. I don't think America's on her. I really don't. I think she's skating by.
We're gonna. I don't. She's fooling us all. That pretty little smile is fooling us all. Also, bonus points for shooting her shot. The way she went at Megan Thee Stallion. Yeah. She said, I'm taking this is the only shot I'll have to dance on this woman. I'm going for it. A+.
Oh, I should have made this clear. No Casa or new people are, and this is all the OGs I'm making. Pepe, at this point, the least objectionable man on the show.
Yeah. And just also has not said anything in 3 days. Shout out to him for the sneaky strokes. Sneaky stroke Pepe.
Similar Andreina, similar logic. Neither of them are offensive. They're both just, tall and hot.
Fine. Yeah. All time bombshell appearance. Like, that's just incredible.
Yeah. See how long she can coast on that. Okay, so we're in a tough scene here. Again, Nic and Olandria are not in the power rankings. I'm going to put Austin here. I'm really surprised he pulled Jade in over Nic.
Yeah.
I don't like this, but he also has not done anything super objectionable. I guess the way he treated Amaya was not.
Yeah, should have. Cool. Yeah, the celebrating about Amaya not being around.
Yeah.
Also, his twerk thing. Meg clearly got the word from the producers to
I give him a W. Nic was by far the best, by the way.
Yeah.
Unsurprisingly.
Yeah. Ace trying to crump. Why were you trying to crump? What are you doing? I cannot trying to be cool, trying to crump.
Huda kind of making a comeback. Down 28-3. Huda's back. She has an excellent comeback moment, emphasis on back in the Meg episode, and then she actually finds a guy who might not suck.
Yeah.
Not that Jeremiah sucked, and she was awful, and I'm not Team Huda. But
it's always good to see people bounce back after a 2-week marriage to get back in the market and see what's out there.
Bringing up the rear. All right. Taylor.
Okay. Yep. Yeah.
I think his downfall is imminent.
Yeah.
That's why I think he is going to immediately forget Olandria, and I think he's going to be exposed that he never was there.
And if our theory is correct about movie night, she is going to see everything he does in the villa. So it's going to be rough.
Put Amaya here. She saved herself, but at what cost? Just tough to watch.
She showed us her feet. I can't remember why she did that.
Oh, TJ. God. Yeah. They're both Amaya and TJ.
TJ just seems like so much of a worse actual human.
Yeah, we don't like TJ.
Yeah. Amaya used a big. Was it Amaya who used a big like hospital term? Because she was like a nurse. Like she works in the hospital or something like that. She used a big
nurse. That was Nic. Nic. Okay. He clocked immediately that Jaden was diabetic because she was wearing the little.
Yeah.
He used, and he said, "I could apply your medicine." I just love Nic. I'm sorry. He's just by far the most entertaining guy. Nic and Olandria, of course, would be higher up in these power rankings, and they will return, no doubt, at some point.
Do we have? Is Ace on there? Is Ace on there?
Oh God, I forgot him. I actually put him. My bad. I had him on my list. I gotta read. I actually had him at
higher than somebody. Oh no.
Yeah, I did. I had him above TJ and Amaya.
I would put him maybe above TJ because TJ seems like a terrible person. But Ace, I wouldn't put him over Amaya. Ace getting Jeremiah out of there out of sheer hatred and jealousy feels unforgivable.
Ace for me is similar to Chelley, where the power rankings, it's hard because there's my personal opinion, and then there's the fact that they're kind of dominating the show and winning it. So I really, again, I would like to refer the producers to our earlier plea. Put the scamming information in the show. Walk away like that scene in Mean Girls and watch chaos ensue.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Because right now, if you're talking pole position to win this thing, it's Ace and Chelley, right?
Unless Nic and Cierra reunite.
Right, yeah. It's those two couples.
If Nic and Cierra reunite and stay together, they're coasting. They're by far the most likable and the only real couple potentially left in this thing. Okay, really quickly before the drilling over here gets too loud, I hope that it's not too loud in your ears. Overtime, we both filled out this, New York Times has this like 100 best movies of the 21st century. So since the year 2000, which I don't know if that counts, but whatever. And I posted mine and then you posted yours. So I am going to read mine aloud and then I want to hear yours afterwards. My ballot. Mad Max, Fury Road, The Social Network, Edge of Tomorrow, A Serious Man, Bright Star, which is my favorite Jane Campion film, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, A Separation, which is a great film by an Iranian director. If people have never seen it, they should watch that. Parasite, Tar, and Arrival, which is maybe my favorite movie of all time.
Okay. All right. I like these. So I got Collateral, the great Jamie Foxx, Tom Cruise movie. Paddington 2, one of my favorite movies of all time. Also, a movie about prison abolition, Deep Down. We can talk about that later. Bamboozled, Spike Lee's Bamboozled. Moonlight, Get Out, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, Fruitvale Station. Arrival is also on there. I watched it recently on a plane. I'd forgotten how good it was. And I was like, this is why this is one of my favorite movies. Sinners has quickly made the top. And then I also had Mad Max Fury Road, which I think is probably the best action movie of the 21st century.
I love all the crossover we have. Should we maybe we should do an Arrival pod at some point?
Yeah.
A rewatch one because that is although I don't know if I can watch Arrival now that I have a kid. I think it might.
It was rough. It was a rough watch because I think when I saw it was 2016, so I know. But yeah, I saw it recently. I saw it on a plane, and it was like, there's a lot.
Paddington 2 also is amazing, and I cannot wait to force a Paddington 2 theme birthday on my son. He's like, I just want Paw Patrol, and I'm like, you're gonna like this artistic cinematic masterpiece. Let us know.
Don't fall for propaganda, little one.
I went to a kid's birthday party the other day in LA and they were like, the Paw Patrol's coming. And this was amidst everything that's happening in LA. And there was a brief moment of tension before it was a fireman dog. It's like, of course, in LA, they found a way to keep the only non-cop dog. All right, that's it for now. We'll be back next week. Let us know if you agree with our theory about what the producers should do to save America from an ace, 4 more years of ace. See you guys next week.